Well, good afternoon, guys. I'm on the Mother Miguel trail. It's above San Diego. I'm going to be hiking down and maybe talking about some of the plants I find on the way. It won't be too different from my last video, but we can start with an interesting one. This is Ferocactus viridescens, also known as the coast barrel cactus or the San Diego barrel cactus. It's native only to a very narrow strip of coastal habitat from southern California to northern Baja. And San Diego was definitely the heart of its former range, though it's been so developed that it's really not found very commonly in this area anymore. But there's a large patch around here. You can see, yeah, it's a pretty endangered plant, but I think it'll be all right with conservation efforts. And we got some good ones growing here. I think this was a partly planted patch because there's just so much growing right here and you don't see it very commonly otherwise. But anyways, let's get started hiking down and see whatever things I can find. As I said, a lot of the plants here are pretty typical of the other ones I found on the trail. A lot of Eriogonum fasiculatum, Malosma laurina is pretty common. There's Artemisia californica. This one I believe is Bahiopsis laciniata, the cut leaf, golden flower, something like that. I can't remember the common name, I don't care too much, but it is another California coastal sort of endemic plant. From the family Asteraceae, if that wasn't very clear. Oh shoot, I'm heading the wrong way. Hold on. That was my bad. I need to go this way for the proper switchbacks. I wish the fence was more properly set up because if I'm making that mistake, then surely a lot of other people are. But here we go, some more of the Artemisia californica, California's native coastal sagebrush species. And this is Eriogonum fasiculatum, but it looks a bit different from some of the others I've seen. Like the leaves are more succulent and the inflorescence a lot tighter, so it could be something different, but it does certainly seem to be a species of Eriogonum at the least. I was just really happy to see the coastal barrel cactus because I did come here so I could see some more rare plant species, and this is Malosma laurina, a monotypic genus in Anacardiaceae that I believe possess that allergenic urushiol. Well, you can't see it so much in these leaves, but a lot of these plants or leaves, oh, there's a good example, are stained black from the urushiol reacting to oxygen, which just kind of turns into this really dense, tough black lacquer. And this is Marah macrocarpa. So there's Chilicothe or Chilicothe, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but also known as Manroot because it produces a large tuberous root in the ground that's going to be really heavy, like several hundred pounds sometimes. Each year sends out these new vines, as you can see right now. Another plant that's mostly endemic to the California coastal region. In fact, the whole genus mostly is, though some are found up more into the Pacific Northwest. There's one in Arizona. I think one even extends into Idaho a bit. I don't know for sure. I need to look that up. I probably shouldn't be repeating information I don't know when I haven't had time to go home and look it up, but that's just what I heard. Oh, it's finally getting sunny again. That's really nice. And the views are really nice up here, especially since it's getting sunny again. Should have had more time to hike, but I gotta go back right now. Of course, another common plant out here is Rhus integrifolia, also known as lemonade bush, a species of sumac that is endemic to the California coastal chaparral sort of region. You can see it's pretty close to being in bloom. Like its inflorescence is really going off. Most of them just aren't really actually flowering yet, but they're getting ready to open up. That's just an example of some open flowers, of course. Once again, I talked about this in my previous video, but I don't really care. Most of my viewers don't come back, so all you guys, if you're seeing this, won't have seen the first one anyway, so live it up, I guess. I don't know. One of the things I did forget to mention, though, is that this plant, interestingly, has entire leaves rather than compound leaves. Most sumacs have compound leaves, but this one is clearly an exception. And in Utah, you get Rhus trilobata, which instead of having, very typical sumac like pinnately compound leaves, it just has trifoliate leaves, but this one went all the way to being just unifloral or just entire leaves. I'm not sure. Just having entire leaves, that's what I'm trying to say. That's all that really matters. I was hoping I might see some more Ferocactus californicum and Celia californica, because on the trail, at the trailhead where I parked my car for the first hike, I saw those around there, and I was really excited because they're cool plants, but I haven't seen them anywhere else, so I'm guessing they're a little bit more rare than I thought, or maybe just not found around here and are only just planted. There are plants I read about, so I was again excited to see, but I'm just not seeing so much of them, if any at all. But the lemonade bush and the toyon and Malosma, very common. Another plant I see fairly commonly around here, this member of the pea family, is Acmispon glaber. This is most likely it is. It's hard to tell apart the Acmispons, or at least someone with as little experience as I do. But it does have yellow pea family flowers and little compound, not quite trifoliate, maybe they're trifoliate. They're mostly trifoliate leaves. And yeah, it's just another one that's found pretty much mostly in the California coastal chaparral habitat. There was a species of Acmispon in the deserts of Utah and probably the rest of the Intermountain West, which is neat. There's definite connections between the western United States and California, like a lot of species that have like to be one or a couple species in the Mountain West deserts, and then a few species in that same genus in the California coastal region. But the whole California floristic province has really just a ton of endemic species, and it's really the most, it really drives California to be the most biodiverse state in the country, at least in terms of plant species. Like, I don't think any other state comes close to having as many plant species as California does, especially endemic ones. I think the state with the next most endemic species actually, or plant species, is Hawaii, which is obviously a bit of a special case because it also has some of the least number of plant species that are native of any of the states, because it's just so many. It has like over 90% rate of endemism, but California has, I think, a rate of endemism of about 50% of its plant species, so which is really, really good. Probably the second highest after Hawaii of any state. I mean, it sort of has to be, because I don't think any of our states break the the milestone of having over 1,000 endemic plant species. Of course, it helps that the almost entirety of the California floristic province is located in the state of California, as the name implies, with a little bit extending into southern Oregon, as well as into northern Baja California, on the Pacific coast side of the Peninsula Ranges. Well, I almost passed without noticing it, but here's another thing that's interesting, or at least interesting me, a species of Myriopteris, either Myriopteris clevelandii or Myriopteris newberryii, both of which are endemic or almost entirely endemic to the California chaparral zone. This case specifically from Los Angeles southward, so really in the southern California chaparral. And it's just, they're both species of fern that like to grow in rock crevices like this. So I'm not quite sure how to tell them apart because, again, I'm pretty new to identifying plants here, and I said before, you just gotta throw yourself in sometimes and make mistakes. But that is what this is, at least in terms of the genus, Myriopteris. Cool looking guy. Of a really soft, leathery noosh growth we have here. So cool to me, but I want to try and figure out which one it is specifically, so. Well, I doubt I'm going to see that much more new interesting stuff, so let's just wrap it up and talk about Heteromeles arbutifolia, also known as toyon. See some leaves right here. Distinguishable by their very red petioles. At least that's one feature I've noticed about them. And their fruit, which starts off green right now, but will eventually become quite red and look very much like the fruit of a pyracantha, because it's closely related to them, as well as, sorbus, apples, pears, that whole group of rose member family plants. But either way, oh hey, look at this. That's what new Malosma laurina growth looks like. Look how red it is. It reminds me a lot of just how red poison ivy leaves are in the fall. I think that's really cool. I mean, it's not even really showing up just how red it is on camera, because camera just can't quite show the full range of color that we can see. But either way, man, I hope I'm talking loud enough sometimes. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.